Hey y'all, welcome to the special little edition of Tarot with me. I just got a new deck called Next World Tarot. It's kind of interesting deck. I was kind of taking a look at it. I'm back. It's by Christy Road, and it's kind of interesting deck because it's almost set up like for someone that's just newly starting out on tarot, because it kind of gives the name of each card and kind of um like the sign it represents, and then the card name itself, and um, stuff like that. And it's kind of laid out kind of nicely that way. And then the reason I kind of got this deck too is that I'm all about unity on a worldwide perspective, and this deck kind of represents the whole world and all the different aspects that we can experience as humans here. And I'm always about unity and a worldwide collective unification. So that was one of my inspirations for getting this particular deck, is for that purpose. And and when I first glanced at them, there wasn't like a lot of imagery for like intuitive readings. But if you've been following me for a while, it's not the cards themselves; it's the overall energy. And the reason I love this deck is that it's plain. I mean, what I mean is that it's not plain that the cards are blank and stuff like that, but like the images themselves are considered not to be too deep. Even a tarot, my vice versa deck is not really deep into the pictures, but I get messages regardless, and I think I've kind of explained too that tarot just gives me a focal point, and I kind of like it that this deck is kind of playing for that purpose, because it it allows, we're gonna see with this, what I think I'm being led with this too, and we'll see how it plays out, is that since the deck is kind of plain, it's gonna show you that tarot itself, the cards, are not really the necessity for for messages, and we all have the messages within us to begin with. As long as you're doing that inner work and clearing out your space within you, so you're basically a clear vessel for the messages, because we are just energy, and the the least amount of wounds that we have within us, we're able to resonate better. And whenever you watch like tarot readers, we're all talking about like if you resonate with this or that, and that's all about frequency, right? So like with these cards, I think with the collective messages, they're gonna do awesome, because like they represent so many different dynamics, um, gender, um, relationship statuses, like if you're gay or not. I mean, there's a lot of different relationship statuses out there, and I think like this deck does a pretty good job of being more inclusive. And I think love is just love, and I think that's 100% correct. We're not here to judge people on their connections. We connect to people on the frequencies they're at. And with our 3D eyes, we don't necessarily see things at the frequency level. We tend to focus on the things that the those that are perceived to be in power want us to focus on. But we're also just here for the human experience, and a lot of times in this 3D world, we tend to focus too much on illusions itself. And I think this deck will kind of exemplify how those illusions could play out more better. Because like my in the vice versa deck, I love it because it doesn't have any boundaries. It allows me to express messages fluidly. It doesn't have as much limitation factors to it. Because, like, when we watch tarot readers, use a regular deck of tarot. No, I'm not saying that vice versa deck isn't regular deck of tarot. I mean, it is tarot, right? But the thing about it is, like, it has two sides to it, so you have two different perspectives to it. And then I love it because there's no words on it. So you're free to express the message itself without people getting too caught up on what the actual card is. Now there are like what I would consider like numbers and letters on there, but I'm talking about messages beyond that. So, anyways, with that being said, this deck is different than vice versa because it does say like this is the Fool's card, this is the World's card, this is the Four of Swords. So it does give the definition of the card itself. But if you've been following me, I usually don't focus too much on the actual card to begin with because I'm an energy reader and not just your typical tarot reader. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of incorporate Next World Tarot into my readings and see what additional messages that come through in that particular deck. And in this particular reading, I'm just gonna focus on just this deck itself. I kind of like the back of the card. It's like reminds me of Lotus, and then it's surrounded by barbed wire. And why I like it so much is that lotuses, typically grow in murky water, so like a shitty condition. And a lot of us, as twin flames, are kind of born into that kind of reality. And then a lot of us feel at first bound by that reality that we can't get set free from it. So the barbed wire around the lotus itself is even taken a step farther, saying that with our belief systems, they can even almost keep us bound to that condition that we're born into. And what I'm going to see with that, all this inner work that we're doing on ourselves is actually setting us free from these perceived limitations that we're born into. And that's all they are, is a perceived limitation, because we are here for the human experience, but we also know that the power within us is far greater than anything that we can even experience in this world. And that's why I pick up on just the back of the card. So with that being said, I'm gonna draw a few cards, but I'm not gonna keep these out in front because they're big cards. They're bigger than my vice versa deck. So I'm gonna set them aside and I'm gonna draw some cards from there and see what messages we get from this deck. And see, I'm just gonna draw what is. I'm not gonna worry about reversals and stuff. I'm just gonna be drawing them and see what comes out. Interesting. This is the first time I've used this deck. So, but I'm just drawing stuff, whatever sticks to my finger. Like, my finger's like a magnet sometimes when it comes to it. And like I said, these cards are huge. So, I'll show the cards as I actually read them. But like, I'm just going to be drawing the cards first. I'm going to draw 6 cards. As you see, these cards are well different than from the vice versa deck I've been using. I know you guys follow a lot of readers out there, so you've probably seen readers that may have used this deck. But like, this is the first time that I've had experience with this deck myself. But what I'm going to do is just move these down. I know you're not going to be able to see them all, but I was just kind of showing the imagery itself. But when I actually talk about the card, I'll bring it up to the camera. So anyways, just kind of getting my vision on these cards. Interesting. And we were kind of talking about the Lotus before, right? And like I said, these cards are big. They like take up the whole camera. But we're going to start off with this, what they call the Roots of Water, which is the Ace of Cups. We were just talking about the lotuses, right? There's a lot of lotus in here. So there's a lot of transformation going on in your lives, which is bringing in this opportunity of a new emotional beginning. And what I'm seeing in this cup is fruit. And fruit comes in many different forms. Even in our human form, ovaries produce ovums, right? So almost seeing like there's uh, basically a new generation. And when I actually got this tarot deck, it was about the new generations coming in to actually transform the world we're in. So this Ace of Cups is actually introducing the new generations coming in to allow those transformations to take place. And each generation that comes in takes off from the generations before them. So we're having this new beginning that's coming in to allow a new energy to take off from there on out. And each, like I said, each generation builds on top of generations prior to it. So they build on top of the wisdom and knowledge that was brought forth from previous generations of twin flames. So that's what I'm really seeing in this. And like they all, just like the rest of us, they all come from new other worlds, and they're all here to experience this world too. And there's a lot of green in here, so a lot of them are gonna show us how to be reconnected to our essence, but more from an unconditional love standpoint, because a lot of the world needs to learn how to love, and like I'm all about unconditional love, but it's gonna take a lot more of us than just myself or the few people that watch me. Um, if you watch other tarot readers, they don't really dive too much into unconditional self love. In fact, they just kind of pull the cards out and um, tell you what you want to hear as a viewer so they could get more people to sub to your channel. And I'm not here to be a YouTuber. I'm here to help the world become the best version of themselves. So with this generation coming in, they're going to give us a fresh new energy that is going to inspire other people to actually want to transform the world. Because they're going to be in a different energy that is going to be at a higher frequency than other generations prior to them. So they're going to break down things that other generations weren't able to break down because they're going to be at that frequency that other generations weren't able to maintain. Because some people in those generations were able to get to those frequencies, but it was hard for them to maintain it because it was like they're fighting against too much force against it. And this generation that's coming in is more free. They're not bound to so much society expectations, a huge one, and that allows them to actually be more free. But a lot of them, of course, being a twin flame, you're gonna have to work through situations that will gain them the strength, but it's gonna be a different experience altogether. And because of that, they're gonna be able to even raise the earth vibration even more than we have done prior. And we kind of laid the foundation for that. But every generation prior to generations of twin flames have done that work, regardless if they did it consciously or not. And with that being said, it's being paired up with the King of Swords because they're going to be bringing in the truth with that. But they know that it's going to take a lot of hard work. That's why this King of Swords is prepped with that power tool. It's going to take a little bit more oomph than just our human capabilities. So these twin flames that are going to be coming in are going to be more equipped with more energy than previous generations. They're going to be able to break down things that other generations weren't able to break down. They're just going to do it with more ease because they're going to be better equipped to do it. And like I said before, every generation kind of lays the groundwork energetic wise for generations coming in after that, and they build on top of each other. That's why we're all important, because we do play our role. It's only our egos that sometimes judge the way that we go about doing the work and seeing if one generation is better than another. It's not about that. We all have a purpose here. We all serve a purpose too. And it doesn't matter about our perception. It doesn't matter how we view others. That's what I love about this deck, because it's not just focused on one race, one gender, one ethnicity. It's about unification across what are perceived to be differences. But in those, if you look at everybody on Earth, not one of us are the same. Even if you look at everybody that's labeled as Caucasian, every Caucasian has their differences, their uniqueness. Not one of them are the same. But what happens is that all these political agendas kind of put us into these separations based on what they want to have us perceive ourselves to be. But we're so much more than just our flesh suit. We all are made of essence, but we're here for the human experience. We lose sight of that essence within us because we've been trained to focus on what we perceive from our naked eye, our 3D eyes. And then we're told to perceive certain things a certain way so that we lose our unification. Because they don't want us to be unified. Because if we are, they can't control us. Because we would have enough power within our unification that we wouldn't need anything outside of our unification. In fact, a lot of this generation coming forward will show us how to be more connected inward connection. That's what the moon is all about. It's kind of shedding a light on to even what we perceive the masculine energy to be more intuitive than masculines prior to them. Because a lot of times the masculines were more egocentric. They were more driven by their egos. And now the ones coming in, the masculine energy is going to be driven more from their intuition. They're going to have more gifts. In fact, they're probably going to be more empowered within than the feminine energy. It's kind of going to swap roles a little bit. When it comes to energy is always constantly changing and evolving depending on what is needed to get things done. And every generation builds off of previous generations, and what has happened with the masculine energy, it's been kind of beaten down. It's been kind of discredited. It hasn't been honored like it has in the past. And I think there's going to be this new generation coming out, the masculines are going to rise up more in its power. And of course the feminine's going to be there, as long as the feminine continues to do the work. That's why we have the Queen of Swords here along with the King of Swords. They're going to work together. That's why they're pair here. They're going to work together. And yeah, a lot of times the masculine might not think the feminine energy is in their truth, because we see that the sword is downwards. But this is all about ego perception. Don't worry about what's happening with your person. It's all about you. It doesn't matter what energy you're flowing in. Keep your focus on yourself. Your transformation happens within, regardless of what generation of twin flames you're in. It's always that way. Your essence is who you really are. You're just here for the human experience. So, and then what I'm also seeing here is cross-racial. And like the masculine tends to be more like normal. And then the feminine energy is going to come across as kind of breaking down societal standards. And they're going to almost like break down walls that were built around human perception on who they should be. So the feminine energy is going to break free from limiting factors that are placed on our roles as humans here. And the feminine energy is going to lead the way in that way. That's why a lot of times she's going to be appearing as not being her truth, because she's going to go against normalcy, or that's not really a word for it. Trends, current trends. They're going to break down current trends that people think that are really important in their life, and show them that it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, the people that set a new trend, and they're not, by all means, these new twin flames come in, are not trying to set up trends, but what happens when you got so much power behind something, people want to get behind it. That's what the feminines are going to do, is create a new movement of energy that people want to get behind. And then the masculines are still going to be that 3D mentality, but like I said, they're going to be more intuitive. They're going to get more inner guidance than they had previously. So both these roles are kind of going to be balance each other out more than they have in previous generations of twin flames. So that's kind of what we got to look forward to in this generation's coming up. With that being said, I'm just gonna pull up these bound cards so you can see them, because I'm not really seeing like cards lining up with each other. I'm seeing different messages from each card itself, and what's gonna happen with this new generation coming in is they're gonna set new standards, and that's why what I'm seeing in the Knight of Swords here, a new standard. A lot of people, like, why say it that way, because a lot of people, value their cars more than anything in their life, and that's kind of like a status role. And what I'm really seeing here is a feminine energy saying that they are more important than the status. They are more important than the status. They're putting energy into themselves instead of into materialistic things. They're saying they are more important than status. Status means jack shit anyways, to be honest with you. But this new generation coming in is going to put that into action. They're not going to be surrounding themselves by glitz and glam. They are the glitz and glam. That's why she's holding what it looks like to me an exclamation mark in her hand, and she's raising it up. I know it's supposed to be symbolic of a sword, but that's what I'm seeing. So that they're saying I'm important, not my materials, but I am. I'm going to dip my energy into myself. That's where my power comes from. Not from status symbols, but from me. And when they step into that power, they're going to break down old paradigms. That's what I'm seeing in this Page of Swords here. It's them breaking down old paradigms. She's breaking through the fence. The fence is not keeping her back. It says do not enter. She's crossing those barriers. She's breaking down barriers that kept us stuck for way too long. This generation coming out is going to break down barriers that our generations weren't able to break down. But we paved the way energetic wise so they could do that. And they could do it authentically. She's not trying to change herself to break down those barriers. She's just being her authentic self doing it. She doesn't give a crap about what other people think. She just does it. That's what she's here to do. And the feminine energy is going to lead the way that way. And what I saw in this one was unity consciousness doing it. Both masculine and feminine energy doing this. But breaking down barriers, it's going to come from more of our inner guidance showing us how to break down those barriers. And then we're ending out with the Ten of Swords here. Now, I'll show this particular card since we're talking about it. The Ten of Swords. And what I see with the Ten of Swords here, a lot of people have, a lot of pain that comes with the Ten of Swords. What I'm seeing as Ten of Swords is transformation. And it's the death of the old way. The death of the old way. Where it was perceived that the feminine led it. That the feminine energy led it. That's gonna die. It's not about one energy or the other. It's about unity. Unity. It's not one or the other. It's about unity. So we're putting to death the concept that we're separated by our energies within us. It's going to be unified. That's what we're putting to death, is the whole idea that the feminine energy somehow leads this connection. It's incorporating both those energies and empowering ourselves with both of them. It's not about one or the other. It's about incorporating all the energies within us and feeling empowered by them. Not just by one aspect of us. It's everything. And everything is a lot. And if I'm going to... when I'm using this deck, what is going to happen is those type of messages are going to come out. How that everything actually plays out with these new generations coming out. We're here to change the world, folks. It doesn't matter what generation of twin flame you're in. You can be in this power too. This is not an exclusive reading. This is showing you the energy that is coming in. This is energy, folks. and you could tap into this. It doesn't matter who you are. This is energy you could tap into that's coming in. You're either going to be part of it or you're not. Do you want to be empowered by the energy coming in? That's all up to you. And I encourage you to tap into it because it's going to be empowering. It's going to be things that need to happen to transform our world. We can't hold back from this. What I strongly suggest is to embrace it so you can be empowered by it too. We're breaking down old paradigms. That's what's coming in. We're breaking down old paradigms. They're done. We're ushering in new energies that are going to transform our world. Well, I love you a lot, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.